Τασό. Τασό.
Έλα, ακουγόμαστε τώρα.
Οκ. Απλά το record να μην ξεχάσεις να πατήσεις.
Είναι,
να το καταγράψεις. Οκ. Super.
Καλημέρα. Καλώς ήρθατε. Καλώς ήρθατε στο event της Uni Systems, Microsoft και Red Hat. Είναι ένα event που έχει σαν θέμα το cloud migration και πώς το automation θα μπορούσε να βοηθήσει σε αυτό το ταξίδι προς ένα migration initiative σε cloud υποδομές. Είναι μια σειρά από παρουσιάσεις, 3, με τη Microsoft, τη Red Hat και τη Uni Systems. Υπολογίζουμε ότι η διάρκεια του event θα είναι κάτι παραπάνω από 1 ώρα. Υπάρχει ένα Q&A session, μπορείτε να το βρείτε πάνω δεξιά, ένα κουμπί, οποιαδήποτε στιγμή μπορείτε να κάνετε κάποια ερώτηση έτσι ώστε να την απαντήσουμε κάποια στιγμή μέσα στη διάρκεια των session, του event. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για την παρουσία σας. Μαζί μας είναι και ο Evangelos Kapsalakis από τη Microsoft, Partner Specialist, Technology Expert θα το λέω πάνω σε θέματα της Microsoft, σε τεχνολογίες της Microsoft και θα έλεγα και Βαγγέλη και Cloud Evangelist θα σε ονόμαζε.
Σωστά.
Βαγγέλη, με την κάμερά σου μονάχα, να σου δείξουμε κιόλας.
Ναι,
μαζί μας είναι και ο Avishai. Hello, Avishai. Please open your camera so we can see you. Καλησπέρα, Βαγγέλη.
Καλησπέρα.
Μαζί μας είναι λοιπόν και ο Avishai. Ο Avishai is a Senior Solution Architect in Red Hat. Hello, Avishai. The sessions will start with Vangelis. He will describe the Azure and the Microsoft technologies related to cloud migrations. Then Avishai will follow up with a session for Red Hat concept and technologies. And at the end, Uni Systems will present also the experience from particular use cases and what is the common ground within them. So by all means, Vangeli, μπορείς να ξεκινήσεις την παρουσίαση.
Ωραία. Να κάνω εγώ ένα share. Ωραία, Τάσο, πες μου όταν βλέπεις.
Ναι, μια χαρά, Βαγγέλη.
Ωραία, ωραία. I would like to start with a statement for today that Microsoft Azure actually is a platform that actually is invented with purpose. And why that? Because we want for our customers to invent with purpose. We want to have the technology there in order to innovate. And we want to innovate based on 4, let's say, pillars. We need, a platform in order to modernize our applications, our services, and bring the innovation to our customers as well. So we need to have a platform that will be actually future ready. So we need to have the technology that we need today, but also the technology that you will need tomorrow. So actually that's the Azure platform is the main reason the main platform to use for your modernization part. As you know, the cloud is moving fast. We have services every week. I know it's very difficult to track, but believe me, we have services and updates on our existing services every week. And we need to have the capabilities, so we invest in this way, to have the capabilities to support your next day, your next achievement, your next modernization milestone. So you find technologies from the early, virtual machines, new technologies, new infrastructure there, up to the new released quantum computing services. But in order to use all this technology, you need to develop something. So if you want to develop, you need a platform that actually you can build on your own terms. For this statement to build on your own terms, you will need to bring your own framework, your own code, your own open source systems so that you'll be able and have the freedom to and the flexibility to deploy whatever application you want to invent for your company and for your customers, your application, your next day, your next business needs. And we know that some applications are not able to go to the cloud. Technology stands everywhere, stands on the cloud, stands on your data center. So you need a way to operate seamlessly, a hybrid way to operate seamlessly. So we have a seamless environment that you can have services from cloud to your data center, to move data on the cloud, to move the applications on the cloud, and have a seamless approach and seamless services in order to operate your applications. And last but not least, trust. We're working on two directions. The first one is the security part, and the other is the compliance part. As for the security part, believe me that every year we invest at least $1 billion in order to have the security on our platform, in order to invent security on our platform. We have 3,500 engineers that are daily keep your data safe, keep your resources safe on Azure. And as for the compliance part, we drive the compliance on the cloud services. I want to be clear with you. We have the most certifications out there. We drive the certification part. We drive the industry with the compliance. If there's a site also, if you want to take a look yourself, the Trust Center in Microsoft, so you can see what actually the certification we have on our platform and what others are in the development phase. We are very open about what we are doing with other third-party vendors in order to keep the compliance and the trust to our customers for the cloud platform. Actually, these are 4 statements that I believe that you can find out there, but this is the way that we try to invest in our platform. So let's go to the cloud part. I believe a lot of you have seen the cloud, but I don't know if you have seen the cloud in a few months from now. So we have 3-4 areas in the cloud. This is actually some classes of services that we have out there. So you can see the edge part, which actually bring the cloud technology to our edge through the Azure Stack, through the Azure Kinect, through the Azure Sphere, etc., etc. We have the infrastructure that can support all these services, the compute, the networking, the storage, everything is needed in order to provide cloud services. And for sure today, I would like to focus in 2 areas. In the serverless part, which actually is the managed services from Azure that can help you to modernize and bring your application to the next day. And for sure, the tools that are out there, the native tools that will help you to automate, to configure and build your own new modern services. So I would like Tasos to share some challenges that there's the feedback of the challenges that we are having from our customers. So we have identified some key areas here. The first area is that we have applications, we have a lot of applications, a lot of services that we need to operate daily in order to keep up the business running. So we have done a lot of investments, our customers and ourselves, in order to build applications and to build services. I have a point here that actually all the investments that we had in the past years in order to build application probably right now are outdated. There was built based on the business needs that we had those days. Now it's something different. The world is changing, the digital transformation is out there, so you need to be more flexible based according to your applications. So we have seen a lot of IT budget stuck directly in the way that we have to maintain an application and not actually to modernize, but to maintain, spend all the budget for maintaining, upgrading or migrate the application to the new services, to the new infrastructure, etc., etc. So I don't know if this application can be, in the same way that the business needs and the business value is out there. Also, we have to transform the application to modernize in order to find the same pace as for our business runs, as for the current speed of our business. And for sure, everything is changing. The digital transformation is out there. The customer needs more. So let's find ourselves if we have the application ready for tomorrow. I think in this slide, you can find some key areas that you have right now in your business. So if you have an application that is elastic enough, you don't have to procure, servers and resources in order to run your applications. The applications actually produce data, but how about the intelligence of those data? Do you have the services out there in order to have the intelligence that is produced from your data? And do you want to get rid of the management? I believe that the service and infrastructure that we have to manage those days, it's enough. It's okay with that. We don't need to focus on the operation part. We need to focus directly to what our business needs in order to transform and serve their customers and their business users. So from our side, we believe that the cloud actually is the destination for its modernization, for the application modernization part. If we go to let's say if we have an application, then we can assume that we have the three layers of the application. We have the actual code, the data, and the infrastructure. In the data part, we have the business logic, the functions that we need to have in our application. In the data part, we have the data that the application consumes and produces. So it's a lot of data out there that we need to manage. And for sure, we have the infrastructure part. And the infrastructure part, it's a cross-cloud. It's a hybrid infrastructure part. We have the cloud infrastructure. We have the on-premise infrastructure. So we need to take care of those three layers. I believe that for every modernization that we need to have in our applications, we need to have a view separate for each part of the application. A different approach for the code, different approach for the data, and for sure, different approach for the infrastructure. Maybe you can have this in the hybrid way, let's say. Maybe some of the code can run on Azure, some of the code on the cloud, and some of the code can run on our data center. Or the data can be also in the data center, and the intelligence of the data can be on the cloud. So you can identify that if you need to modernize something, you have to split your application in those three layers, because you can have a modernization based on the layer that the application has. Different approach for the code, different approach for the data, and the infrastructure is out there to help you and start the next and for sure to host your servers or the modern application you have. Talking about the infrastructure, I would like to share with you that everything is included on Azure. A full set of built-in intelligent services are out there to help you for the operation part. The migration part, I think Tasos will be deep enough and help you how to migrate to the cloud platform. But out there we have the security part that can help you and protect and detect all the threats that are out there for your infrastructure. For sure, the protection engine, the native protection engine on Azure based on the Azure backup service, but also for the disaster recovery service that you can use for your on-premise infrastructure or for the cloud infrastructure as well. All the tool sets of the operation monitoring are included in the Azure Monitor service. For instance, the application intelligence through the App Insights, the log analytics, the diagnostics, the network monitoring part is included in one service that actually is the Azure Monitor service. For sure, for all the configuration part, the native engine for the configuration part is the configuration management, update management, automation scripting is out there for you to operate and have the management of your services and your modern application. And for sure, for all those services and your application to be in the same page, we need the governance layer. In the governance layer, utilizing the role-based access control, we give the identity and access management for your tenant, but also a centralized engine that you can apply and configure your policies for your system, who has access, what I want to deploy, what actually is my quota, etc., and a transparent cost management layer in order for you to have in your budget what actually will be the cost this month. Other than the cost, we have another service actually, which is the Azure Advisor service that helps you to operate the cloud under a consistent layer of what actually I need from the cloud in order to operate my applications, my servers. So this is the optimization layer. All those tools are built in Azure and helps you dramatically to reduce the operation part that you have today in your data center. And if we go to transform our application, we will need a platform. We need a platform with managed services, a turnkey platform for the application modernization, let's say. We can lift and shift applications, but you will not be able to unlock all the cloud modernization benefits. So if we abstract the infrastructure and let's go to the upper layer, to the managed services layer, we can focus based on our needs. If we need more control or we need more productivity. In order to do that, we have the services out there that can help you. All the managed services on Azure are built on top of the microservices world, in order to give you the ability, the agility, the performance, and all the resources that you need whenever are needed in order to operate and modernize your applications. If you're gonna, let's say, want to migrate a web application, it's not, I believe it's not efficient to lift and shift the server on Azure. We can build directly on the web app layer, the app service layer, which is actually a platform, and they gives you the opportunity to migrate your application, to scale whatever you want, to have the performance, whatever is needed. For instance, you don't have to procure any resources when you're out there and you have, let's say, a viral marketing campaign. You don't need to do nothing. Cloud is there for you and support you, support your workload, support your web application to be up and running and consume the resources that are needed. If we want to focus directly on the business logic and drive only code on Azure, we have the ability through the Azure Functions layer. There you can code directly your business needs. You can drive your next modernization through the event-driven model. So if something has happened, then I would like to run something. So this is actually the business needs that can be translated actually in a code directly on the Azure Functions. For sure, if we need to have more control, we can go directly to the orchestration on Azure managed service based on Kubernetes, and start a different approach by containerization and containerizing all the old application and abstract the infrastructure part. So if you're going to modernize with managed services, you can find the benefits out there. The benefits are included on Azure, are built in on Azure. So let's say we need the tools and the processes that will help us to modernize our application. Through the Azure DevOps, for instance, you have a fast and agile application deployment. You don't need to spend your time in the infrastructure management. We need to focus directly on the applications and speed up the deployments, have the resources out there every time we want. Maybe can be portable. This is the new era here. The application can be portable, so you can move your application on your on-premises, on cloud, or on multi-cloud strategy. Automation is a key for us, and Tasos will say more later. And if you go to refactor, let's say an application, which actually is the faster way to modernize an application, the container technology, which actually support all the frameworks and can be portable across clouds. We don't need to have any operating system dependency with the containers. So it's a good approach if we need to start the modernization. For sure, out there's the platform that can help us to have the faster application deployment and utilize all the CI/CD tools, and we have the orchestration part. So from a virtual machine, the servers and the operating system, we abstract everything. We get only the application, convert it to a container, and this container can be delivered on a cloud platform or on a hybrid platform, let's say, through the tools that actually are embedded on cloud. But we have several other tools. Tasos will say more later on that. I would like also to share with you our cloud journey to the DevOps world. We started early in 1975 and developing code, and we have a way to develop code and then process code, which actually is the old and legacy waterfall way. But a decade later, a lot of companies were out there, competitors, and we realized that we have to get rid of the waterfall layer and provide an agile way of developing applications. So if you can see from the Microsoft side, we changed a lot. We changed from the people, we changed from the processes and the tools that we're using. So the big, silo teams right now are more agile, small teams that are driving all the product management and the product development. The processes the old processes that we have, everyone remember the service packs that we used to deliver those days. Right now, actually, is 3-week sprints. 3-week sprints that are built in order to continuous planning, learning, and deploying the new services. The roadmap is out there, and for sure, we get all the feedback from our customers, and we drive the Azure innovation and the Azure development based on our customer feedback. This is very critical for us. And for sure, the tools, we get rid of the old 100-page specification documents, and we move something, and we move to the Git repository. Everyone is in the master repository, and for sure, the Azure DevOps and the GitHub is out there to help us for the continuous integration and the continuous development of our application. Also, I would like to share with you a map for your transformation. I would not go for each in each line here, but I would like for you to keep this message that for every layer of your application that you need to modernize, there is a path. There is a path for rehost, refactor, re-architect, and rebuild the application. So you can choose what is your path. I believe Uni Systems is here and Red Hat is here to help you as well. But for us, there is two different, let's say, layers that Azure gives you the opportunity to modernize the application. The infrastructure as a service part, and for sure the platform that this is I believe the way that we need to focus on. The platform as a service, a managed service that can help you to accelerate your application modernization. I would like also to talk about the Microsoft and Red Hat partnership. I think, as I remember, was in 2015 that we started this partnership very closely with Red Hat, and gave us, the best of breed right now for our services and Red Hat services on Microsoft Azure. We have I believe that we're the only cloud vendor out there that has the Red Hat Enterprise Linux support directly from Azure. So Microsoft and Red Hat together, they support the Red Hat on the Azure Marketplace. The subscription, the licensing part, everything is included through Azure Marketplace. So everything is integrated. You can open a ticket on Microsoft Azure and you can have support directly from Red Hat. This is amazing, I believe. This is I would like to focus also in the OpenShift container platform on Azure, which is a new service out there and gives you the ready-to-go platform for your next step for the modernization. If you'd like to containerize your application, then you have the ability to operate those containers in the native OpenShift platform on Azure, which actually is a full managed Red Hat OpenShift service from Microsoft and Red Hat together. For sure, SQL Server supported on Enterprise Linux, and through the deep partnership among SAP, Microsoft, and Red Hat, we have the most powerful and scalable cloud for SAP HANA. So this is some of the areas that we're working together with Red Hat, but you have also the ability to deploy the container platform for the OpenShift by yourself. But as you can see here, a lot of components are included. You have to create your virtual machines, the network, the DNSs, the balancer, etc., by yourself. So why to do that? If you have this option here, a ready-to-go Azure Red Hat OpenShift platform supported by Microsoft and Red Hat together. Let's focus on the business needs and let's modernize the application directly on the cloud, which is the destination, through containerized workloads with help of Red Hat for sure, and other managed services that are out there and can help you to innovate. That's on my side, Tasos.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Evangelos. I think we all understand that Microsoft Azure is a platform that a lot of activities can happen there. So, Evangelos, we have a question regarding application performance monitoring, and if there is a point to use an APM tool for Azure, or if Azure has an APM capability in application performance monitoring. You want to answer it, or I can answer it? Please.
I think. Okay. So, as I described before, Azure has a lot of built-in native services. One of the services actually is the application insight. Application insight is what we say as application performance monitoring. Application insight actually is integrated in your code, integrated in your application. So you can have a clear view from the front-end layer up to the back-end layer. I believe this is the key here. And not only to see if the application is running correctly, or we have some latencies in some different layers of the application. But I believe that from this service, you can get the most of the insights from your application. This is the key here. Don't focus only on the operation, but focus also on the business part. We have several reference cases out there that application insights help customers also here in Greece to have all the insights from the application. They translate the application operations to business value. This is a part that you can think also. So I don't know if I covered the question. Tasos, you are mute if you are talking. No worries.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
So I think you've covered the question. We have seen a lot of cases where application performance monitoring is a crucial component on, in any case, cloud or not. But as we said, Azure is a platform. It has a lot of capabilities in application performance monitoring with application insights and a variety of tools. But still, since it's a platform, whatever the intensity of the application performance monitoring requirements are, you can deliver and bring your another third-party solution, and it's an open cloud environment. Okay, so whatever the intensity is of the application performance monitoring, you can bring your own tools also. So, Evangelos, thank you very much. You are in the loop for session. So next is Red Hat and Avishai. He will do a session regarding the particularities of the Red Hat solutions and how the cloud native concept is for Red Hat. So Avishai, you ready? You can share your content and we can start it.
Let me just verify that we are aligned with that. So you can see my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So I'm on full screen, yeah? So you all can see that?
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yep.
Great. All right, so Evangelos, thank you so much for the great presentation. First of all, I would like to say thank you, Tasos and Uni Systems teams for being part of this webinar. So good morning, everyone, and nice to meet you all. My name is Avishai Saban, and I'm a solution architect in Red Hat, working with our partner team around Israel, Greece, and Cyprus. And today's session, we're going to discuss about cloud native and digital transformation. And a lot from what Evangelos said, it's related to this topic. And so I also want to start with a statement by Watts Humphreys. He was an American pioneer in software engineering who was called the father of software quality, who said that every business is a software business. And software is a key driver of differentiation and innovation. So your customer expects their application-driven experience with the business to be as good as their experience with their last consumer application. Therefore, not only do applications have to be delivered with the speed, but must also be a high quality, provide intuitive user experience, responsive performance, and incorporate user feedback to continuous improvement. In other words, what worked yesterday won't work today. So to become better at developing and delivering software application requires a new approach. So one that enables the speed of efficiency of the cloud operating model and empowers the organization to build, run, and improve application on any cloud, such as public, private, and hybrid cloud. So the solution approach is what we typically call a cloud native development approach. So one of the challenges migrating application to the cloud, which is the baby step when you come to the cloud, will be lift and shift approach. Although the application can remain largely unchanged, there is a number of challenges to migrating application to virtual server, which organizations will need to consider when developing their cloud migration strategies in order to minimize the business impact through the process. So the biggest challenges that a lot of industries identified was knowing all of their application dependencies in the existing environment. So not all applications are suitable for hosting in the cloud. Migrating resource-intensive applications that run on a mainframe, for example, doing data crunching, media processing, modeling, or simulating can introduce performance or latency issue. So it can be more expensive to run this on cloud environment than leave them where they are. So sometimes applications rely on local third-party services, might not be good candidates for migration because it might not be possible to the business that might be, maybe it's a licensing or run third-party services on the cloud. So the question is where to start. And the idea is starting small and migrating a single application or part of the application at the time, rather than trying migrate everything at once is considered a gold practice. So let's define what is a cloud native. So the use of word cloud, if you can see here, the cloud native approach describe a way of modernizing existing application and building a new application based on a cloud principles, using services and adopting processes, optimizing for the agility and automation of cloud computing. So the use of word cloud does not mean that the code that will be built on this approach will be only work on the cloud. The focus is not where the applications are deployed. The focus is how applications are built, deployed, and managed. So the way that application remain build, manage, and deliver will remain the same. So to understand better, those of you in the market serving customers and building customers' business application, in terms of the focus, in the old days, in the traditional days, it was long, and whereas the cloud native, the agility is on top of priority and capability to change. So it ends up with the market requirements, the speed of delivery is the focus. And the development methodologies change as well from waterfall with the cloud native approach, with the flexibility and agility offered by modern cloud technology. Organization wants to move traditional application to the cloud environment, taking advantage of greater agility and on-demand compute capacity. In terms of teams, in the old days, we have isolated development, operational, Q&A, and security teams. In the cloud-native approach, the adoption of DevOps culture rely not just on tools and technology, but also on the willingness and trust people to embrace more integrated collaborative approach to developing and delivering application. So the culture here is really strong. The culture of open source, the software projects can be a guide to building the DevOps culture. In terms of delivery cycle, traditionally was long, and cloud native will be short and continuous, with the code changes can be pushed more frequently to production, quickly, and reliability to provide fast feedback to the developers. And from the application architecture, in the old world was tightly coupled, and cloud native will be loosely coupled. Service-based application based on API centric and communication development. From the infrastructure standpoint, in the old days we have a giant computer, which it scales vertically. In the cloud native approach, with the adoption of containers and serverless, we can scale horizontally on demand capacity. So to summarize that, we see the distinct evolution landscape, and this is new technology is a digital distribution, what's happening here, and the digital transformation. So this is to summarize that we see that the transition to DevOps in microservices, and from microservices it could be a serverless like Evangelos said, there are functions as a service that you can take a function and run it as a containers. This is one of the digital disruption and digital transformation in many famous companies. And so we can see in the world from data center into hosted, and now is on cloud. And cloud, it's not only a VM hosting, it's also a service that can bring you a full life cycle for your application. So what solution approach we can take? Enterprise open source technology are helping drive the adoption of hybrid and multi-cloud. So, and this, and from Red Hat has conducted a recent research, which is called the State of Enterprise Open Source. And this research showed clearly that IT leaders believed in open source. And this research also reports that open source is used across all different types of industry trendings today, which also include application development, application integration, digital transformation, and application modernization. So how Red Hat can help? The idea is to work with the customer based on 3 pillars: platform, process, and people. So which can help us to connect customer organization, understand what they have, what is the culture they have, and what is the infrastructure and process they're managing. And identify what is the requirements to reach business outcome and reach business goals that they have, and help change across all these 3 verticals. Help them to adopt a new culture, new technologies, new infrastructure, and adopt new process so that they could achieve business goal. So like we said, one of the biggest challenges is dependencies, right? So we want to, let's say we're ready to the cloud, we want to move to the cloud, but there is so many dependencies which make this very difficult for that. So to understand dependency through analyzing and mapping out connection between application, services, and cloud components, with Red Hat Migration Toolkit for application, you can Red Hat can help to identify which part of migrate first and whether other parts should be migrated. At the same time, as well as reveal any technical constraints that should be constraints during the migration. And the real benefit here is to accelerate application code analysis, support effort estimation, accelerate code migration, and help you to move application to the cloud and containers. So the migration toolkit is the right choice here. So Red Hat approach to the cloud native solution is a modular, which is the foundation based on containers and containers orchestration that facilitate the transition to DevOps, which should be the first step in your cloud native journey. So Red Hat provide tools for both development and operational staff to gain efficiency and automation for their respective work, and offer everything the developer need to create great application, like application runtime, development frameworks, API management, service mesh, and serverless capability. So to match that with Red Hat technology stack that provide the product portfolio, we mapping for each capabilities we highlighting on the previous slide. So customers can start their cloud native journey by adopting a DevOps and containers enabled by OpenShift and application runtime framework for the developer. They can add the products and functionality on the incremental basis. So you could develop and deploy cloud native infrastructure application with any data, which new technology on public, private, and hybrid cloud, as well as containers, Kubernetes, and microservices. For example, the use of Ansible is radically simple IT automation platform, part of the CNCF tool that makes your application and system easier to deploy and maintain. So you could automate everything from code deployment to network configuration to the cloud management, and languages that approaches plain English just using SSH with no agents installed on the remote system. The Red Hat middleware portfolio consists of 3 product sets that help you to create and connected and flexible application environment running on top of OpenShift. So first is the runtime, which is a set of product tools components for developing, maintaining cloud-native application, usually for the developers. It's offer a lightweight runtime and frameworks for high distributed cloud architecture, such as microservices. Some of the product will be JBoss EAP, JBoss web server, MQ and MQ Kafka streams, and Quarkus, and many more runtime frameworks. The second is the integration that will be set of integration and messaging technology to connect application and data across hybrid infrastructure like 3Scale, API management, MQ, and Red Hat Fuse. Red Hat Fuse comes with essentially a series of connectors, which based on Apache Camel, so you can programmatically tie together various external software as a service solutions. Last but not least, Red Hat Process Automation, which is a set of products for developing applications that automate business decision and process. So Kubernetes-powered platform eliminates cloud locking and provides management capabilities for containers. So the guiding principles behind OpenShift can be categorized into 4 areas. Innovation is happening in the open source communities, and Red Hat is the best positioned company to help contribute, grow those companies, as well as bring the value that innovation to the customers. While customers have demands to run application in many clouds, they also want to reduce the amount of operational complexity that come from a multi-cloud strategy. And OpenShift enables customers to have consistent development and operational experience across combination of cloud. So to define the solution approach, let's see how customers define their business value. So what Red Hat did is went ahead and discussed with their existing customers and asked them how they defining challenges for their perspective, and where they want to, whether want to modernize, when they want to transform. So the popular statement we hear a lot from is it took a minimum of 6 months to take application from idea to production. But see, it's not just a statement. Basically, it's described for us is a huge opportunity to work with the customer organization and mitigate the risk in hand in terms of transformation. So no matter what architecture you choose from application, what programming language the developers find most useful, and what services you want to use as building blocks, OpenShift provides a single consistent development model across the build, test, deploy, monitor, and review the lifecycle of the application. So you can have a self-service infrastructure that lets developers provision what they need on demand and skip waiting for hours and days and sometimes weeks for the infrastructure resource. In the consistent environment, OpenShift makes sure that the environment's provisioning for developers and across the lifecycle application is consistent from operating system to libraries, runtime version, and like Java runtime and even application runtime like Tomcat, in order to remove the risk operating from inconsistent environment. In terms of automated build and deployment, OpenShift gives you a choice of developers to build their containerized application themselves or have a platform build containers from the application source code to even binaries. The platform then automated deployments of this application across infrastructures based on characteristics that the team has defined for the application, such as much resource should get allocated. In terms of continuous delivery pipeline, OpenShift provides out-of-the-box support CI/CD pipelines. We all familiar with Jenkins as a orchestrated tool for continuous integration. But today with OpenShift 4, we have OpenShift pipeline that will be a different approach for CI/CD that came from serverless. So you don't have to you don't need to have one stateful instance to run Jenkins. So you can containerize all these CI/CD parts into containers and running on demand. So this is one of the few major change when you move to cloud native, instead of having one vertical instance and wasting a lot of Java runtime on that. So in terms of configuration management, configuration and sensitive data management is built on top of the platform to ensure consistent environments, agnostic application configuration. And in terms of observability, we have the application logs and metrics that could have a rapid feedback. Is an important aspect of the application development. So OpenShift integrated monitoring and log management provide, like Grafana, Prometheus, and ELK stack that provide immediate metrics back to developers in order for them to study how the application is behaving all across change and able to fix issue early as possible in the application lifecycle. So you need to choose eventually whether you want just a Kubernetes engine or just OpenShift with all this additional stuff that built for the enterprise company that give you all that stuff in the especially in the security area what you're trying to achieve. If it's in your house, if it's on-prem, private cloud, hybrid, and public. So OpenShift is everywhere, like I said. It's a single product with multiple consumption models, give you a choice to customers in order to balance their productivity and operational effort versus the level of control they need. So we have OpenShift Dedicated, which is a professionally managed enterprise-grade Kubernetes by Red Hat. It gives you the no VMs to operate, no patching, required master infrastructure and computers nodes managed by Red Hat. So we have all, one of our key player here will be having our OpenShift managed on top of Azure Cloud. It's a fully services OpenShift deployed as an operated, jointly managed and supported by both Red Hat and Azure. So you can get it on any other cloud providers. And of course, you can have it on-prem, in a VM or bare metal. So I want to finish with one cool component technology that's now will be available in OpenShift 4.5 now. So Gartner estimate that by 2022, more than 75% of the global organization will use container application, which is much higher than 30% such of organization comparing to 2019. And those Gartner claims that the cloud application are the future of business innovation and developing. So still many companies invested working on traditional virtual machines. So one of the pitfalls of many organizations where they move to container technology, like microservices architecture, is to bring legacy system. So with OpenShift virtualization, which formerly was called container native virtualization, you can address this problem. The technology allows you to bring virtual machine and containers to run on the same host, all managed by Kubernetes. This is not a Red Hat virtualization or OpenStack with OpenShift on top of it, but this is OpenShift only without additional subscription. So now OpenShift Kubernetes looks like a VM as a native resource, like pod services deployment. So this is a huge step. You can bring, for example, you can bring your legacy VMs like Oracle database, for example, bring it as a VM into the OpenShift, and OpenShift will take a look at that as another resource, part of the resource that like pod services, replication and stuff. So if you want to learn more and get your hand dirty, please go to learn.openshift.com. You will get interactive learning platform, and please let me know if you need anything further. I'm here for you. And with Uni Systems, thank you so much for this opportunity, Tasos.
All right. Thank you very much, Avishai. I understand that Red Hat is a complete cloud native migration method with containerization and the solution and how you can get there. So at this point, I will try to present to you what the what is the perception and the perspective of Uni Systems and the system integrator's view on cloud migration? And we all have established that, okay, the path is towards the cloud native environment. So, but cloud native is not just technology. It's a culture, it's a strategy, and the technology altogether. This means that we bring an organization to the cloud native. We don't bring the systems. So we need to focus on a lot of things in order to be successful and do this this journey through a cloud native. So Uni Systems, we all understand that we require a cloud journey method. So we have seen it in a lot of slides. Evangelos and Avishai have discussed about it. There is a phase of discovery, plan, migration towards a cloud journey in order to get the governance, the cost management, the provisioning, the monitoring, the operations of the cloud, the flexibility of the cloud. So Uni Systems is using some best practice guidance in order to pass through all this trip for an organization. It's a proven guidance. We have seen it. We have real case scenarios of actual use of these methodologies. And we have seen tremendous changes in this organization by just adapting and stepping in to a cloud and automation technology. There are initial phases that an organization has to go through in order to be able to learn and create a culture and a strategy for this type of initiative, the initiative of becoming a cloud native organization, which is by all means a way to digitally transform an organization. So based on these cases, Uni Systems has identified a common ground, a phased, let's say, approach, where the initial phases are the, let's say, education and learning and culture development phases. There are specific phases like the initial on-prem scan, analyze, plan. We've seen also from Avishai tools for that. We have also different tools and a way to identify your environment. But then there are phases that it is the trip towards the cloud native, the migration, cloudify, modernize, and even in some cases for commercial companies, the SaaSification of applications. But the actual business value becomes something like that. So when you start a migration, a cloud migration project, you gain a migration through the migration, a business value on the initial, let's say, lift and shift of applications initiative. But then you need to change. You need to change things. You need to become cloud native, where there is actually the business value of the cloud migration and the engagement. I will focus more on the parts of the scan and migration because I want to show you how organizations started to educate people and the culture of the organization towards the cloud native. Of course, a lot of organizations also had pinpointed services that could go and went directly to a modernization process, but a lot of organizations too start from the beginning, from building from scratch things on cloud to educate the organization and build the culture. So normally at each phase, at the beginning of each phase, the scan and analyze plan, there are assessment, scan methodologies, tools, a discovery process with workshop, in order to identify the systems, applications, and platforms, but critical information like dependencies, interdependencies between the systems, how they communicate. If you have to move things from on-prem to a cloud environment, you need to know what is communication between in order to identify the network, the security. So this will lead also to a move group analysis. So you can see that some workloads can move as a group altogether in cloud. Other, you need to have a hybrid implementation for a service and have services running in the on-prem and other to the cloud. Besides this lift and shift information and networking, security, and sizing information, you also investigate at that point application and services, the actual application topologies, how they are currently in the on-premise, to see scenarios for lift and shift, for platform as a service integration, even containers. So this leads to a definition of the airline strategy. So after this assessment and discovery phase, you will have a prioritization on the applications based on your business needs. Some applications may be ready to become easier and ready to become cloudified or modernized to containers, to stateless, serverless environments. Other would be we will only have to be lift and shift, rehosted, let's say. Okay. So through this, and along with a design phase for the foundation and the governance, which is very critical, because after you have seen the environment and you have a prioritization of how you will implement the cloud migration, you need to design the environment. You need to have the complete foundation environment of the cloud, which means subscription, tenants, the networking, the security, all the components, even cost of usage and how the cost of usage within the organization will be handled. Budgeting purposes, how do you do and authorize a proof of concept that will have a cost of usage. So there are also governance and foundation things that need to be built and designed. After these two parts of the phase, you then have a roadmap. You have a roadmap to decide which components, which services, which application will be lifted and shifted or hosted, and which they're going to be integrated with parts, which are going to be re-architected, and you have a plan, you have a schedule on that. But now here, Uni Systems have seen a twist. So the important thing during the migration is, of course, to build the foundation and the governance. So you have the platform ready for your own usage, you're interconnected, you have an extension, you are ready to deliver the services. But here is the twist. For lift and shift cases, we suggest that you do it in an automated way, which means that you're not taking a virtual machine as it is and you move it to another environment. You need to build a design where this environment that you have on-prem will be automatically will be built with an automated way. So we are talking on a design and architecture of a DevOps automation. So you pretty much create an automation method to lift and shift VMs that pretty much do anything for the build of this environment. You automate the configuration management and software installations, provisioning of the VMs to Azure, installation and middleware and databases, even network virtual appliances if required. And you automate the service. You take a complete bulk and set of systems as it is, and you recreate it, you rebuild it to the cloud environment with the configuration and everything. So how is this done? We have done it in a lot of cases where you actually use automation to build the service. Pretty much an architecture is like that, but the core components and the method that you do is that you're going to use Azure Resource Manager templates in order to deploy the resource. Ansible for configuration management, so anything required to virtual machines and to systems will be configured through Ansible. Jenkins is the heart of the solution. So you actually have a component that will drive all the provisioning, the pipeline, the entry of the parameters of the systems. Everything is run through Jenkins. You have a Git repository. Excuse me. You have a Git repository actually to have in there all the infrastructure as code component, scripts that are required for the provisioning and the configuration. Any scripted, any infrastructure as code component will be there with a version control. And this leads to an environment that administrators and operators will actually work with forms. They will not go into systems to start configuring. They will use forms or even bulk forms of systems that comprise a service, and they have put only the parameters for the specific service. Just for example, forms will be like that. So you're going to have forms in order to add only the parameters of the system you want to provision, and detailed information about the size, the resource group this VM should be part, IP addresses, so parameters of the actual system, but also services that need to be included on this system, like encryption or partition or registration to a management environment, diagnostics and part of a diagnostic solution, insights for the application, for the services that run within, how are you going to take backup. All these are right now backed up by infrastructure as code that they will run and create and provision and configure and install the systems. Even the pipeline, you can see a pipeline where you run all the different services, and you see how much time it takes to deliver, to start and provision a system with the full capabilities, from configuration, encryption, monitoring, registration, and all that. So why do you think this is important? Why automation? First of all, because it is very consistent, the way we deploy and you install the configuration, and you create the environment very easily. You have a very fast provisioning process and deployment. These are critical things when you are in a road to a cloud native environment. You need to have redeployments and consistent things, and also you need to be to create an environment which is independent, decoupled, and you can do rollback. Review and approval processes. And infrastructure as code means documented. Whatever you do in order to deliver with automated way all this environment, it is by fact, by design, it's documented. So you have a very straightforward and reliable method to deliver all these environments a lot of times. Okay, so you can have the same environment with different parameters in many environments. So this process the typical process of provisioning is actually transformed to what we could say a DevOps practice. So people learn how to have an environment that continuously can change and be integrated and deployed and redeveloped. So once we have established this environment, the configuration, we've created all the automation requirements, then we can build the environment. We can run the pipelines and create the services that we have designed. And then there is a lot of testing. You need to test. And again, here automation and how the cloud environment requirements assist in this process. So typically an organization will have a few tenants in order to have the production and possibly development environment. Some organizations may have even more. They might have a development environment, a test environment, a UAT environment, a pre-production environment, and then a production. So you have a lot of the same environments required to pass through this production life cycle methodology. So on each environment, you need to do actually the same things. You need to create the environment with some parameters, build the services, test it, and pass with every check to the next tenant and phase of checks. So again, the message here is that automation will really build on each environment all the infrastructure and all the components and all the configuration and all the services automated with just changing the parameters. And actually UAT tests will be also available to everybody, to all the stakeholders that need to execute tests. It will be a similar environment with the production with a slight change. So you have automation here to assist you very easily pass through all the tenant creations and the environment creations. So after you test, what's there? From that point, we have data migration. So since you have actually created the environment, it is exactly the same, and it has all the components and it is tested. There is only a data migration process. So at this stage, an organization where it has lifted and shifted applications to cloud with the infrastructure as code method and automation has done a very big step towards the cloud native approach. So the next stage of course will be cloudify. Here we're talking about the application optimization. We have seen from Evangelos and Avishai a lot of ways how to cloudify and modernize application and what is the effort there. And then you can modernize. So some easy things that you can do in integrating a platform as a service. So platform as a service is a component that can quite easily be used. There are specific transition ways for components that typically you find in a data center to be transited to a power service. And at the same time, you can consider also containerization. I won't stay long. Evangelos and Avishai have discussed about it a lot. But the key point here again, once you try to containerize and see the containerization environment, is the CI/CD process. It's again a process of automation and DevOps concept. So with all this, we want to understand that through the journey, we see that the migration, the initial migration, is also a build of culture and expertise in the concept of cloud native. Because for all of that we know, it is people that are engaged in this. People need to be within the center of this cloud native journey. So it's the people of your organization that they will try and learn these things and adapt to the culture and learn the continuous improvement and development environment, automation, in order to start building the cloud native environments, to make use of cloud native services and have very easy ways to test and prove, experiment, learn things with an open mind. And this is exposure of people and to this experience. This is an excitement environment. This is an environment that people will create innovative solutions, ideas, and make small ideas into great ones. This is the environment where the moment where the people will actually seize the control of the progress of the cloud native. So I would like to finish off with the fact that cloud and automation is not the target. It's not. We are not discussing here the target of your transformation journey. Neither it is the scope. but it is a vehicle. You can use these technology areas of automation and cloud in order to inspire people, transform process, and create a business that it is focused on IT. So you create an environment that will educate all the organization in both technology, in culture, strategy, in all the aspects of a digital transformation trip. Thank you very much. This is also concludes also for me. So with this, we conclude this live event. We currently don't have any other questions. Vangeli, Avishai, do you want to add something more, or?
From my side and my perspective, also, I think that the application modernization is the way forward. We have to get rid, all the old practices that we had. Ensure that we can transform in an agile way, leveraging DevOps and actually all the technology that is out there. And I believe that we have to get rid of the old practices and move forward and leverage the cloud, services, native cloud services, containerization, the automation part is the key, I believe, for the application modernization era.
Yes. Okay. So, Vangelis, yes, I completely agree. This is the path. We need to.
The only way forward, I think. Not only the path.
Exactly. It's the only way forward. I completely agree. And to be honest, these initiatives are the real business value of an organization. This transformation and change of mindset of the people and become part of this CI/CD process and the DevOps and the automation and the cloud native services usage, integration with PaaS, all these concepts will bring great value to an organization, and this is the actual message of why we're using these technologies and why we're looking on this cloud migration initiative.
Yeah, I think no doubt it's. When you when you have a cloud approach, sometimes you have multiple environments, and you need a way of controlling those environments. Sometimes you need that for UAT, prod, and stuff like that. So sometimes you want to be agnostic with your application, moving from other environments, regardless what cloud environment you have. So OpenShift, it's also a better way to do that with the platform. So using Azure, bringing all the services around that, it's a comprehensive services that you can be move as an agnostic way there. So yeah,
yep.
We can
yes,
see.
Avishai, yes, if I may add, the fact that organizations are touching cloud is already a win. By starting and engaging on a cloud environment, you are exposed to all the technology. It is very easy at that point to actually engage people to start building small, with small components and trying and learning and becoming competent in cloudification, in modernization. These are very important things that could happen in an organization, and these are really the points where we transition. To have OpenShift in Azure and have also a comprehensive and complete environment where you can engage also other tools, other technologies, it's a miracle. I mean, it's a playground for people that really are technology enthusiasts and they want to build new things.
Yeah, one of the good example I see from our customers, it's having a hybrid cloud scenario when you have a OpenShift cluster on-prem, and you want to distribute the environments between Azure cloud and your on-prem cloud, so you can have for you as an end user, as an operational from a DevOps perspective, you don't care about where is it. You just have a mitigation of one environment that you can spread around all that stuff and in one single pane of glass. So this is the hybrid cloud scenario. It's great for that. Also having the transformation of 5G edge computing area. So with Azure, you can bring your local OpenShift cluster close to your region, and be deployed. I don't know, three instances of a cluster that you can do that with OpenShift 4.5. You can have a full cluster with 3 instances. So just bringing the edge computing, serving your customers. So this is one of the beneficial of having a hybrid cloud scenario.
Absolutely, I would say, yeah. Oh, sorry, yes, Evangelos, please.
Just my 2 cents here. I believe that starting work on this journey for the application modernization, I think, okay, it's not a single click migrate or a single click lift and shift. Yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey for sure. Yeah. I believe that right now we are able to have all the tools, the practices, and and the methodology on how we can take an application, split the application into 3 layers, and provide all the intelligence that we have and all the tools that we have in order to modernize the specific layer of the application. So I believe that I don't know who's inside the the webinar, but I believe if you give us the opportunity to assess your application and provide you all the necessary information on how we see with our knowledge the next generation of your application, we're here for you to help you for sure. Provide all the cloud native, let's say, services together with your native approach of your application, the cloud native approach of your application. And at the end of the day, you will see at least benefits for your business.
Yeah, Evangelos, I completely agree. The first step of the assessment and the scanning process and the workshop and all this initial step is very crucial for organizations, because this is the truth of the organization. You identify the truth of the organization, so you see things that you wouldn't imagine that could happen. And through that phase, we have seen a lot of customers to actually move much faster, because they didn't know that certain components and certain things can be transferred much easier. So platform as a service, for example, is so much easier as a first step towards the cloudification of services. You can break down to 3 layers, as you said, the applications. You can use PaaS, and then if there is a complexity on the application, you can keep it initially as a system. But it is a way to start transitioning and taking advantages of the cloud native environment.
And Tasos, just one more critical statement, that feel free to ask from Uni Systems, from our partner, to help you with the assessment. We have several programs out there. You can leverage some fundings from Microsoft in order to transform your application to the next day. We are here to help you as well. We believe that the application modernization will lead your business doing more. So please feel free, contact our partner, Uni Systems, learn from the partner about the benefits that you have right now from Microsoft directly, and some funding that we have in order to modernize your application and leverage all the cloud native business.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is something that we already have been doing with Microsoft and Red Hat. So it is an assessment and a scan and analysis phase where a lot of value comes out of it. As Evangelos said, we are available for you to start this phase. Funding is also, Evangelos will tell me more like that. So Avishai, Evangelos, if nothing else there, we don't have any other question currently. So thank you very much for your participation. Let's do it again with more good results with other cases. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating. By all means, you can contact us at any time for any information or possible other engagement. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.